All right, everybody, welcome to Muckin N Grindin. Got some injuries again. Pens are going to be plagued. Seems to be all this shortened season. Friedman, skated off the other day with a head injury, and then came back and sustained another head injury. Um, just it just can't seem to be snake bit this season. It's kind of funny how that works. Uh, Gotta see if I got to check on a few things just to make sure everything's good. Um, got a few things. I mean, Tristan Jarry has looked amazing the past couple games. Not exactly sure if my sound's coming through right or not. Can't really tell on here, so it's really, if anybody's watching, shoot me a comment, give me a thumbs up. Help me out a little bit. It's hard to tell through when you're doing it by yourself, I guess. But yeah, I mean, Tristan Jarry's looked amazing the past, few games. Sometimes you can't help deflected shots. Sometimes you can't help when your defensemen leave you hanging out to dry, or the puck just bounces off of somebody else. Kind of like last night, where we're up 3-2 and puck bounces off of Michael Layton, and he celebrates like he just scored the golden goal, and like Crosby did. Not exactly sure what you can do in those instances besides make sure that you clear the guys out in front of the net. It's just frustrating. The Pens do not have that type of defenseman. The trade block's still a little over a month. Well, it's about a month away now. Calgary looks like they're probably going to end up being sellers because they just fired their coach, and now Daryl Sutter took over. Ageless wonder, great coach. I'm not sure if that'll fit the instance, but I mean, I know they like Sam Bennett, who's a healthy scratch, who's a decent center, he's a decent winger. He can play both. Johnny Gaudreau's run out of favor there up in Calgary also. So is Sean Monahan. I've always liked to see the possibility of Sean Monahan being in a Penn sweater. Guy's good. He's a great face-off guy. He's a great penalty killer. Always need penalty killing. The fun fact is like, when you get your defensemen keep getting hurt, game after game after game, one day you hope that you'll have a healthy lineup, and Brian Dumoulin should be back soon. Juuso Riikola also should be back soon. The surprise was Sid in the lineup the other night. Everybody had him in the COVID protocol. I guess he had taken a rapid test, possibly. I'm not exactly sure. Nobody knows. It's pretty quiet about it. He ended up in the lineup, same with Mark Jankowski. They're talking Evan Rodriguez should be back soon, which I could leave him. I mean, they've played very well without him. I like the way the lineup is now. Mark Friedman, was a great pickup. I mean, you basically got him for nothing. So, I mean, the guy was a third-round pick a couple of years ago. He just played in the outdoor game for Philadelphia, which the Pens play tomorrow at 1 o'clock. The Pens are 12-9-1 on the season. The Flyers are 12-5-3, excuse me. And then the next is on Sunday. It's a back-to-back playing the Rangers. They're 9-9-3 on the season so far. I would want to see this team put a string of games together where there's no dumb mistakes like from Marcus Pettersson or Mike Matheson in the past couple games. He still looks good, but he's made some, blunders and some mistakes and stuff like that. I mean, it happens. I mean, there's not much we can do about it. When these guys start playing, exit more ice time because a guy's injured, sometimes they, playing with a defensive partner that they're not used to, things like that. And the one thing I did not understand in last night's game was the fourth line barely got any ice time in the third period, which is, if you're not going to use them, at least have one of those guys take a few shifts on defense. These guys can all play hockey. I mean, I know defensemen are defensemen, forwards are forwards, but you need the body. And your guys obviously needed a break because none of them looked good. Cody Ceci was the only defenseman yesterday that looked somewhat coherent. John Marino's really hitting the sophomore slump hard. P.O. Joseph got sent back down to Wilkes-Barre. That was one of the moves that I really did not like. I would have rather have seen Marcus Pettersson, be press box hero and let him sit. I don't have a need for Marcus Pettersson right now because he has not shown me anything this season that garners him even being in the lineup. They need more bottom six scoring, jumbling the lines around, moving guys around just to, because this guy's out of lineup, that guy's out of lineup. They need to be consistent. The scoring needs to start picking up with some consistency. Brian Rust has been, one of the guys that's been solid all season long. Brandon Tanev has been every bit worth the $6.6 million that he is being paid. The guy is just nonstop motor going. Lays the body on anybody. Doesn't matter because he's undersized. He's great speed. But I honestly still would leave Bluger, Tanev, and Aston Reese together because that line plays great together. I mean, they have great chemistry. I understand Sid was out of the lineup, but just move other guys around. Move the fourth line guys around. If you're going to move guys around just because Sid's not in the lineup, and all of a sudden Gino decides to show up because Sid's not in the lineup, which makes entirely no sense to me how this kid sulks when Sid's in the lineup, and then when he's out of the lineup, he plays like, the best player in the world. Just play the flipping game. Play it like he's not there then. If I don't understand why you're so butthole hurt about freaking playing behind Sid. Just play the freaking game. Play like that all the time and you won't have issues. It's very infuriating to watch these guys, do things like that. He's not in the lineup. And granted, the lower level guys do step up whenever Sid's not in the lineup. And it's fantastic to see because they know they got to pick up the slack for him. But when Gino does it, it's like, why are you doing it now? Why haven't you been doing this all season long? It's one of those things where it's like, hey, dude, do it all year long. Do it all the time. The inconsistency, I'll say it again, inconsistency. Mike Sullivan should be really worried about his job right at this moment. There's other coaches that have been fired for less right now. And last night was no excuse. You have a 3-goal lead 4 minutes into the game and you blew it. I don't care if injuries or not. You have to go into Operation Shutdown like Derek Bell did back in the early 90s or mid-90s with freaking the Pirates. Go into Operation Shutdown. Play like the old school New Jersey Devils or play like the New York Islanders do to you now. When they get a 1-goal lead, game's over almost. They make it so tough on you to score a goal. Play that style. Don't keep, we got to get to our game. Well, you can't get to your game because you don't have the guys in the lineup that you need to have. And right now there's no scoring on this team. There's none. It's infuriating, frustrating, and it's mind-boggling because there is a lot of talent on this team that's underachieving, and that goes from Sid all the way down. The guys just have to start picking it up. You have a hell of a stretch of games coming up here. I mean, the first part of your season, you played against the top 3 teams in the division, minus Boston. Now you're going to be coming up to the part of the schedule where you have the bottom dwellers. Maybe that's what you need to make up some room. But considering these bottom dwellers are not playing as bad as everybody was expecting them to, it's going to be one of those things that is, let's see what the Pens have. I still feel they can make the playoffs, but it'll be maybe by 1 point, unless they make a few trades or so, just to see what happens. You got to solidify that defense. You got to get a guy who's not afraid to move a body, throw the gloves once in a while. You know what I mean? You got to do something, because like watching Chris Letang try to move a guy who's maybe got him by 20 pounds, just manhandle him around. He just doesn't have it anymore. I keep saying it's time to move on from that, but I'm not a GM, so I mean I could just sit here and bitch, moan, and complain about it. The Canadian division, everybody's saying, "Oh, Toronto's going to destroy everybody," blah blah blah. Well, you got to remember, 3 of those teams in that division are rebuilding. Ottawa being one of them, and they've played Ottawa 5 times out of, I think, their 24 games, which, I mean, Ottawa's actually beaten them too. Toronto beat Edmonton the past. I think they've outscored them in 3 games, 14-1. They're making a big deal about shutting down McDavid and Draisaitl. Yeah, you can do that all you want right now, but in the playoffs, I mean, you got to still be able to show up and play in the playoffs. Freddie Anderson's never been a playoff goaltender his whole career, so you got to make sure that you have somebody that can play behind him. It's still a long way to go. The COVID protocols are starting to ease up a little bit. There's not as many players that are in, on the list anymore, which is always a good thing to see. Hopefully, the restrictions will ease up a little bit more. It was great to see, the 2,800 fans in the stands for the Pens, and honestly, these guys will tell you it gave them a boost, and they felt pretty good about it. But we got back this weekend, Philly and Rangers. We'll see what happens. There's not really too much else going on besides, just regular moving around through the season. So it's a long work week, but we'll talk about a couple more things here real quick. Have a couple poll questions we'll do through the week. Favorite player, we did the other day. Who is your favorite player? Saw a lot of, names that you haven't seen in a while. Our buddy Len Williams, who, went to school with. He had Miroslav Shatan and Alexander Mogilny and, a couple, names that Alexander Mogilny actually was one of my absolute favorite players, and he was one of the guys who started the Russian wave of players coming here. He defected, and the KGB actually looked for him. There's I think it's a 30 for 30 about him, and it's fantastic. I watched the whole thing. It was really interesting to see what he had to go through. So we'll go through. Maybe we'll do a thing of your top goalies of all time, or if you were a GM and starting to build a roster right now, who would you start your roster with? And you gotta have like a couple lines made up. Can't just go with, I'm going to start it with McDavid, or I'm going to start it with Crosby, or I'm going to start it with Kucherov. No, I want to see a lineup. I want to see your top 4 lines, your six defensemen, and a goalie. That's what I want to see. I want to see 4 lines, 3 sets of D, and a goalie. That's what I want to see. And now maybe we'll even throw your head coach in there, who would be coaching your new team. Kind of like almost like a Seattle Kraken type deal. We'll see if we can get a couple guys to put a couple rosters together, and we'll see what happens. Let's go out and do that throughout the week. But as of right now, that's about it right now. Have a good week, everybody. Talk to everybody again soon. Thanks, guys.